I am Airman First Class Adriana Parson, and I'm a part of the United States Air Force's Central Band, otherwise known as the AFCENT Band. We travel all across Southwest Asia, sharing our culture through music with all we encounter. Though the pandemic has made it difficult for us to gather physically, thankfully, we haven't stopped performing. We're here today to give you a virtual show. That's right, just for you. So sit back, stand up, or sit down. Whatever you do, enjoy.
Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleep. And I was worried about the way that things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning, and we're rolling, rolling, rolling,
Hello, everyone. My name is Technical Sergeant Bobby Wolf. I'm the guitar player for the United States Air Force's Central Band. We are all so happy to be here and to be able to perform for you today. I would like to give you a little bit of insight on my journey as a musician from when I first started to where I ended up now, and how did I actually get here. I started playing music when I was about 10 years old, and my first instrument was actually not the guitar. It was the clarinet. I continued playing clarinet from about the age of 10 until I was about 14 or 15. And at this point, I decided that I think I'd like to try to pick up the guitar. So I asked my parents, would you be able to buy me a beginning guitar and a beginning guitar book? And they said, well, you might have to wait for your birthday, but I'm sure we can get it for you. At this point, when I received that guitar and that beginning guitar book, I finally fell in love with music. Not that I didn't love clarinet, but guitar really cemented everything for me. I continued my education through music all the way through college. I finished my bachelor's degree in music education with an emphasis on clarinet, but I also still played guitar a lot on the side. Now, you may wonder, how did I end up in the Air Force bands after all of this? Well, the answer is very simple. 3 words: practice, practice, and the last one, you've guessed it, practice. Practicing is the most important thing that you can do as a musician. It enables you to get to that next level. Now, I've performed for former presidents, I've performed for professional football teams, and I've traveled all across the world. And the only way that I was able to do this was through practice. Excellence in all we do is a core value that the Air Force instills in all of its airmen. That means that whether you're a pilot out there flying planes or a musician performing for people, we've got to perform at the highest level possible. Now, you can do the same thing too. And it may be difficult because you may not have all the time in the world to just sit down and practice. You may have activities before school or after school. Now, the same thing happens with me. I do a lot of performances and a lot of traveling, so I don't always have the amount of time to practice that I would like. This means that I have to practice very efficiently. And one of the ways that I practice efficiently is by setting small goals during my practice sessions. One of the things that I might do during a practice session is say, I want to learn a new scale, so I will pick one new key, and I will only practice that. So I'll set aside about 30 minutes, and I'll set a realistic goal of learning, let's say, the key of C. So on the guitar, and as a guitar player for the Air Force bands, I need to be able to improvise and play and read the C major scale all over the guitar neck to be able to get the best sound. So I might start right here, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, that's pretty simple. I'm at the beginning of the guitar. But there's a whole lot more to this. So now I've got to go, where else can I find these notes? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now my practice session is only going to be this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The same notes, but I've still got more. Now, if you spend a practice session of 30 minutes a day, just set 30 minutes aside, only working on that one thing and really understanding what you're doing, I guarantee you that your results are going to be much greater than before when you just sat down to just practice random things. You've got to set a clear goal and have that in mind in order to attain the things that you're trying to go for. As a military musician, we are held to a higher standard. Now for you, you may want to be the next symphony musician, the next great symphony musician. You may want to be the next great super rock star. Now, the only way to get there, and the best way to get there, is through hard work and practice. We should always be students of music. No matter how old you are or how good you might think you are, there's always something new to learn. We hope you enjoy this next song.
Let's
Hello, my name is Master Sergeant George Father, and I'm a trombonist in the band. As you can see, I have more instruments around me than just the trombone. That's because I did my master's degree as a brass specialist. Well, what does that mean? I had to study each of the brass instruments and perform them at a relatively high level. There are more similarities than you would imagine in the brass family. First, let me show. All of the brass instruments have a mouthpiece that we buzz into to make sound. Right? We take that mouthpiece and we put it in the instrument, and it amplifies that sound. One of the differences in the brass family are that not all of the brass instruments have valves that they use. The trumpet has valves. The euphonium has valves. The tuba has valves. And the French horn has valves. There's one notable difference, and that is the trombone. The trombone has a slide that we use to change pitch. Back to the trumpet. All the brass instruments develop the same way. How do we get better at these instruments? As you probably heard from Sergeant Wolf's description, practice is the key to everything. And the way we practice one brass instrument is basically the same way we practice all of them. There's generally 3 categories we practice to improve on a brass instrument: long tones, lip slurs, and scales. Long tones, I can demonstrate like this. And so on, down chromatically. And then I would start on the next partial up. When I'm practicing my long tones, I'm focusing on making a beautiful sound on each note with very minimal, what I call garbage in between the notes, if that makes sense. What is garbage? You hear all that gook in between? You try to get rid of all that. We try to make a smooth transition from one note to the next. On the trombone, it's a little bit different. We actually don't use our tongue at all when we move, and there is just a little bit of slide in between those notes. That's okay, as long as the quality of the sound doesn't change in between the notes. What we don't want to have is this. You hear how the sound of the quality changed in between the notes? That's what we're trying to avoid. The way you avoid that is by keeping your airstream constant and making sure you're blowing straight through the change. The next set of activities that we do to maintain and improve as a brass player are lip slurs. What I'm doing is I'm playing in between each of the partials without using my tongue to articulate. I'm just using my air and my embouchure to go in between those notes. That strengthens the muscles in your face to be able to play a wide variety of registers with a good sound. And similar to long tones, you want to make sure that you're not getting a lot of garbage in between notes. We try to make it as quick and as clean as possible when we're changing in between those registers. And that's the same on all of the brass instruments. The next thing that we like to practice are scales. So I practice the scales in every key, every day, even though I've been doing it for the last 30 years. Why? Because that makes sure that I still have a firm foundation in all the fundamentals before I go on to perform or work on the things that I need to improve for the day. So the other thing that I do along with those are arpeggios. Those are all the building blocks of almost everything you're going to see as a brass player in music. If you have a firm foundation of all those things, then you can go on to focus on the rest of what you're trying to prepare in music. You want to work on the things that you're not good at. If you keep hammering on the things that you are good at and ignore the things you're not good at, you're not going to improve very much as a player. So then, after I get through all of these activities, I go on to practice the things that I need to work on in music. Sometimes for me, that's orchestral excerpts. You can hear that wasn't perfect. So what do? Do I accept that, or do I go back and work on it? I go back and I work on it until it's reached a level of perfection that I'm satisfied with, right? I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation on the brass family and that you have a better understanding of what it takes to become a fantastic brass player yourselves.
Little
Hi, I'm Staff Sergeant Justice McKenzie, and I play piano for the AFCENT band. Although my journey as a military musician has had several stops before this. I actually started my military career about 7 years ago as a tuba player for the Air Force bands. Tuba is what I studied in college, and that was the first audition I won. But after a few years of doing that, I decided I wanted a musical position with a broader perspective and took an audition to be a music arranger. I won that audition and have been serving as the music arranger for the Air Force band in San Antonio, Texas for about 3 years. You may be wondering how I came to be the piano player for the AFCENT band, and it's a bit of a long story, but my proficiency playing piano, which comes with my job as a music arranger, prepared me to be the piano player in this band in our deployed environment. And I'm really honored to be a part of the AFCENT band because the United States has a really rich heritage and culture in music. And our artists in uniform are just one way that we are able to share that culture with all of our partners abroad. While we wish we could be performing for you live and in person, we're very happy to be able to bring you this version of our performance.